Oh, I forgot. We didn't talk about who's doing intros today. I guess it's going to be me then.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Middle Age Gaming. This is Adam, and Antoine is here. Krian is currently in his Uber. He recently returned from India, and he is doing he just finished his quarantine, so he is currently on his way home, but unfortunately will not be able to join us today, although we might see him popping up in chat. So yeah, we got a good episode for you today. We've got all the new hotness that's blazing all across the internet. But before we get into that, Antoine, would you like to tell us what you've been playing recently?
So yeah, it has been 3 weeks now since I was on podcast and I was playing Total War Warhammer. Then I got some holidays with the kids, which were fantastic. Thank you very much. And after that, I got a lot of, a mailbox backlog at work, so I didn't get to play much. But before I left, so a lot of Total War Warhammer for months and months. I wanted to have something a bit more dynamic, at least to introduce to the podcast and for myself as well. So as you know, I have the Xbox Game Pass and I haven't got any game for a while. So just to get it more money efficient, I would say. Got something into it, and I wanted to check out a classic, which is Halo. As you know, there was here Halo on Paramount Plus video, the series not too long ago, which I kind of like, but the Halo players were like, it's really so. Got me into the mood of playing it. And like Mass Effect, went through, I really wanted to discover a series that the fact that I never, had an Xbox before, I missed a lot of titles. So that's the good opportunity for me to discover a legendary series, I would say, a legendary IP. So I started with Halo Combat Evolved, which was released in 2001 and re-released on 2011 for the anniversary. So it's a good, graphically, I would say, 2011 for you is like a Skyrim, for instance. So it hurts the eye, but not that much. It's honestly playable. But Halo 1, sorry for the Halo fan, it's bad. It's really bad for a couple of reasons. The combat aspect is fine, there's good weapons, there's a good story, with a very fun part that I kind of like is that the story is optional. You need to discover terminal on the map to discover the story. So if you don't discover the terminals, you don't know the story. So it's both good and, I really like my lore, and that means that if you missed it, you have to replay the mission until you find terminal and get your story. So it's both good and bad. It increases the replayability, but at the same time, if you don't want to replay the game, then you need to go on YouTube and find the story yourself. It's a genre, I would say. It's an idea. I won't say if it's good or bad. It really depends if you like it or not. For me, I'm a bit on the fence on this. But what's really bad about Halo 1, only 10 missions, all of them extremely long, could be up to an hour, maybe more. And they repeat the assets all the time. You can get an hour mission in exactly the same room. Just you pass the door, same room. You pass the door, same room. You pass the door, all the time. It's a catastrophe. The library, my God, I wanted to shoot myself. It's the same room, wave upon wave of monsters. You kill them, you checkpoint, new room, same, all over for an hour. It's really, you have to go through that if you want to play Halo. I can't imagine why it was good in 2001. And again, I played Quake 3 and I loved it. And this was released in 1999. Halo Combat Evolved was 2 years later. So I'm not very, I don't want to say, yeah, it's an old game. So I can imagine that at the time, it was a revolution. No, it was not a revolution. There was already some very good games, good FPS at the time. So I'm sorry, but for me, Halo Combat Evolved was a lazy FPS with a great story. Don't get me wrong, but a lazy FPS. And then I started, I'm not finished yet, but Halo 2, which released 3 years after, 2004, again, Anniversary Edition 2014, which looks really nice. Even right now, nearly 10 years after, it's absolutely doable. It's really good. And then, I don't know if there was a change of the team or maybe Halo got this kind of halo over the IP. Sorry about this, but yeah, easy one to do. And all of a sudden, your game is fantastic. I don't know what happened, but they took all the good points of Halo 1, the vehicles, the stories, the factions, exactly the same factions, and they get rid of all the bad stuff. The very long missions, all of a sudden, they are much shorter and digestible. You have an extremely good story, not just within a cinematic. In the story, you have a faction war. You can play different faction, even though the gameplay is exactly the same. You can play both Master Chief and Covenant Arbiter. You have lots of different weapons. The Flood is the main antagonist of the series, and it's kind of a parasite. In the one, basically take control of the dead bodies to come at you and mutate the dead bodies of Marines, of Covenant, doesn't care, as long as it's biomass. In number 2, they have a really good stuff is that they take they take a dead body, come at you, you kill it. There's some kind of little kind of squid stuff, very small stuff. And if you kill one body and another squid come inside the dead body, they can respawn again and again and again. So it really add a whole new dimension to the Flood. So honestly, the number 2 is full of good ideas. Much, much better use of vehicles, of great vehicles into it. So Halo 2 is a whole dimension away from Halo 1. It's really, really good game. While the first one, you really have to, you really have to force your way through it if you want to finish it. It's like, it's an iconic series. I want to play the whole series. I need to finish the first one. It's terrible. Number 2, you finish the game. I'm not finished yet, but I'm already in mission 12 or 11 or 12, and I didn't even realize I was there at this point. I was like, my God, I really want to continue it because it's fantastic. So I know there's Halo 3 and 4 and Reach. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it as soon as my mailbox backlog is gone, of course. And I'm really happy that I'm doing this series. And I really didn't knew the fact that in the series, in the Paramount TV, you never see the Halo. In the game, you straight into it, and and it's 22 years old now, so I imagine no spoiler, right? And if you want to play Halos, then cut this right now because I'm going to spoil a bit. I was very happy to see that. Basically, it's quite a basic story. You have the humans, the Covenant, they are at war over. They are at war. That's it. And the goal of the Covenant is to find these halos. They are very religious factions, and they want to activate it because for them, activating the halo will send them toward a great journey. What they don't know, or at least I think they don't know, maybe the leaders does, but the Flood is these parasitic entities which consume biomass and expand and expand and expand, and they're gonna eat the whole universe at this rate. The halos were super weapons created by precursors or ancient races. Basically, you activate it and it destroyed every biomass and sentient life in the whole galaxy. No food for the parasite to eat, the parasite will die. That's a quarantine effect. The humans know that, so they do whatever they can to make sure the Covenant don't activate it. So the Covenant's like, religion, let's do it, and like ascension or something. And the humans are like, no, it's doomsday button, don't push that. So on top of having a regular war, you add this kind of religious war on top. It's a really good spin, and I really love it. So happy to see what 3, 4 Reach I'm going to bring to it, and I'm going to talk about it, of course, in the next podcast. And I'm going to stop now because I took way too much time. Sorry about that.
It's all good. I enjoy hearing about it. Yeah, I think the reason Halo really took off is because, from a FPS perspective on PC, no, it probably wasn't all that innovative. But for
No,
consoles, it was a huge deal. I mean, the closest thing we had prior to that was probably GoldenEye or Perfect Dark, and those are pretty
which
much
are great but old.
yeah, they're very old, and so you're basically everything is linear. You can look
Mm-hmm.
up and you can look down, but to look up on the N64, you would have to hold down a shoulder button and then
Oh,
look up. But
true.
when you do that, you stop moving. So if somebody's on a ledge above you, you can shoot them, but you have to like stop and then go into like shoulder mode. And when you do that, then you stop running. You have to stand still and aim up, which might sound like you're a sitting duck, but at the same time, if they're above you, if they want to aim down, they have to do the same thing. So you're both kind of sitting ducks when you do that. So we kind of got used to that. Alternatively, you could use the C buttons, the little yellow ones, and you could press
Mm-hmm.
those, and you would look up or look down. But the problem was, is if I remember correctly, yeah, you would just like look straight up, and it wouldn't re-auto center again. So you would just
Okay.
kind of like, and it was actually harder to aim that way because you weren't using the joystick, so you couldn't fine tune it. It was just kind of like straight up, straight down, and you're like, So it wasn't a very
Yeah.
effective way. But then with the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, we had dual analog sticks, and I think Halo was probably the first game on console to really bring a solid FPS experience.
Time
So
splitters. Time
Time Splitters, I
splitters.
think, came out after Halo, didn't it? I thought it did.
Probably.
Let's
Time
look that
splitter
up real
one is
quick.
pretty one.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, Time Splitters. I played Time Splitters 2.
Ah, that
Uh,
was fantastic
Time
game. I want.
Splitters.
To
Time Splitters is 2000.
Future Perfect is 2005. Time Splitter 2 2002. Time Splitter 1 2000.
Yeah,
So 1
2000
year before Halo.
October. Oh, was it? When was Halo? 2001.
So wait, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So
So
I guess it
PC
was.
Quake 3 1999. Time Splitter was PlayStation
Oh, okay.
or Nintendo, je sais plus.
I do know
I
though
think.
that there was one other issue, and Halo wasn't the first to do this because I was reading I was reading an article. I was watching some lore videos on aliens, and they were talking about there was an old Marines game, like Colonial Marines type game, but it was like some aliens game, but it was really, really, really old. And
Mhm.
the people in the review were complaining about the controls because they were saying you control forward and backward and strafing with the left stick, and you control looking up, looking down, looking left, looking right with the right stick, which are standard controls today. But back then, they were saying these controls are awful
Ah,
because what we were actually doing back then, and it reminded me because I had completely forgotten that this was a thing. But the way aiming was done back then was your left stick controlled up and down and turning, and oh no, sorry, your left stick controlled forward, backward, and turning. So your left stick was like what you would get in an ARPG, how you like run around, and your right stick was for strafing and looking up and down. So because of that, that was the kind of the standard before it, and I think that was probably part of the reason why uh, they hadn't why shooters hadn't really taken off on console yet.
mhm.
Because now the two analog sticks mimic the WASD on the left stick and the mouse on the right stick. But back then, it used to be that the left stick was your movement and the right stick was strafing and looking up and down. And
And
yeah, the original Time Splitters might have done it that way. Maybe that's why Halo took off. I don't know. I'd have to go back and see what the controls were.
and that's why I think on PlayStation there was still a time of rail shooter, right?
Rail shooters were really big on the original PlayStation, but yeah,
You don't have to move, just aim.
yeah. On the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2 didn't do that so much. Armored Core was really interesting. I loved playing Armored Core. I've talked about it many times. I'm super excited about Armored Core 6. But the
Of
original
course.
Armored Core, there wasn't even an analog stick. It was on the original PlayStation. So their solution
Okay,
was
yeah.
really interesting. Their solution was, your the D-pad controls your movement, and uh, the shoulder buttons would control strafing, and I think it was L2 would make you look down and R2 would make you look up. So your shoulder buttons were how you looked up and down and how you would strafe. Yeah, so it was really kind of crazy. So and that was one thing that made a huge improvement on later Armored Core games because being able to use the analog sticks freed up those four buttons and then you could do things like say, okay, now our shoulder weapons are controlled with the shoulder buttons. Our regular weapon is controlled with the square, but now they probably even go to pretty much standard FPS controls or something like that. But yeah, it was really, there were some really interesting solutions back then, and I think Halo was probably one of the first games that found a really intuitive solution that really made FPS work well. So
In that case, I can't tell you because the Master Chief Collection, of course, is a, a gathering, I don't know, of all the games, and they smooth out for a better play of all the missions altogether. They smooth out the gameplay with modern controls. So I'm not playing with how it was at the time, and that's good. Otherwise, I don't think I would have finished number one. I don't know how it was, but again, gameplay on number one is not a problem. Gameplay on number one is good. Really, just the assets, the length of the missions, the repetitiveness.
mm.
Nah, that you get lost all the time. You're like, what? Do I come from this room or this? I got lost so many times and never got lost in number two. So really, that tells you everything.
I think the other thing that had contributed to Halo was the fact that the Xbox had 4 inputs. Like the original PlayStation and PlayStation 2 only had 2 inputs. You could buy like that strip that would allow you to play with 4 people, but normally you can only plug in 4. Halo allowed you to plug in 4 controllers, and I think or Xbox allows you to plug in 4 controllers, and so Halo would allow you to do 4-person local multiplayer on a console. Which, if you were playing FPSs on computers, you had to set up LAN parties and things like that. So I think it was just one of those. It made it more intuitive in the controls. It brought it to the masses, and suddenly we don't have to worry about a LAN party. Your average dude bro can play Halo with friends. So I think in that sense, maybe the campaign might not have been amazing, but people weren't playing it for the campaign. They were playing it for the multiplayer and the fact that, oh my god, I can play an FPS on a console now. So I
Of
think
course, yeah.
I think it earned its place in history for what it is. But yeah, for me, I've been playing, getting finally in Persona 5 Royal. I
Oh,
actually have the collector's
nice.
edition. Yeah, no. So it's got the whole, it's got Joker's mask
Yeah.
in there and everything.
Do you have a statue? Oh, Joker's mask.
Yeah, it's got Joker's
Yeah.
mask. There's no statue in this one. It's got let's see, Joker's mask with stand, steelbook, soundtrack, artbook, collector's box, dynamic PS4 theme. I'm not using the PS4 theme for 2 reasons. One, because yeah, I don't use my PS4, and two, because apparently my wife got me this years ago, and I'm getting around to playing it, and I pull it out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can get this theme, and I go to the code, and it's like the code expires March 2022 or 2022. And I was like, oh, yeah, this code expired. Not because it came expired, but because it's been in my backlog for so long, the code actually expired. Um, which is kind of funny because that's going to lead me to something else I'm going to talk about in a second. But I am really enjoying this. I am not very far in. I'm only about 5 hours in or so. It is currently where I am still very linear. I haven't had too much opportunity I haven't really been able to choose anything other than some dialogue options. I know later on you can choose what you do, like which characters you want to interact with, and you can kind of go about your day and get what is it, part-time
Absolutely.
jobs and whatnot. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and it's good because I've felt like I've played a few duds lately. So I'm like, I need a win. Come on, give me a win here. Um,
Good
yeah,
win.
yeah. Like back in December, this has been going on since December. I waited on Crisis Core because I waited for Christmas. My wife got me the Switch version. I don't have a Switch, so I couldn't play Crisis Core. So then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for Forspoken. Forspoken obviously didn't pan out. We've been over that. Finally got Crisis Core for my birthday. I was actually very disappointed in that game. I was, I'm a huge Final Fantasy
Really?
7 fan, and I was actually not that thrilled with Crisis Core. The gameplay was great. I will say I had a lot of fun playing it. It's the story that got me. It felt, I don't know. I didn't really like it, but I feel like part of that also was the fact that it was originally a PSP game, so I feel like maybe the story felt like they had to rush it a bit because on the original PSP you just didn't have the memory of a full CD, so you couldn't have the length of game that it should have been. So I think maybe that was part of the problem. So I was like, I really want to play something, and then I was saying, okay, I'm gonna play Elden Ring, because I've been wanting to play that. And then I went I went on stream, got everything set up, and start the game, and then immediately start the stream. And you can see this on my stream on Monday, uh, where it is, or was it on Monday? Oh, sorry, last Thursday. And you can see on the stream, my version of Elden Ring is in Chinese. It's not the English version. And it's weird. It's really weird because I went back and I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. I always check this because I live in Taiwan and I've had this exact problem before, specifically with Tomb Raider. But, where like I bought the game and then I downloaded it and it's like, this is the Chinese Korean version. And I'm like, what? So I get it. And then, so I it was on sale and I checked if there are different versions. There were not different versions. Sometimes it'll say like English version, Japanese version, English Japanese version, Chinese Korean version. So I looked. There were not different. There were not different versions. And then, so I bought it. It was on sale. I didn't download it immediately because I put it in my backlog because I was like, I got stuff to play. PlayStation has a refund policy where you have to refund a game within 14 days. I didn't do that obviously because it went into the backlog. But not only that, but the way I discovered that it was the Chinese version was, I downloaded it, I started it, and I saw everything's in Chinese. And they have a policy that if you have downloaded the game, then not even if you've played it, if you've just downloaded the game, you can't get a refund just from having it downloaded once. So I guess the idea is if you downloaded it, you could in theory like save it onto an external drive and then count, but it would still be on the drive. I don't know. But anyway, so that's probably why it's that. But anyway, so I was like, okay, I immediately deleted it off my PlayStation. You can look at my time. It says time less than 1 hour, 0 trophies. So yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna download this. I'm gonna try anyway. Maybe they'll be nice. Maybe they'll be sympathetic. And so I sent in the submission request for a refund. For whatever reason, it didn't go through. I had to send it again. So I sent it the second time. And I get this email back from them, and they're saying like, oh, our refund policy is this. You need to check that because you've already played the game, or because you've already downloaded the game, we can't issue a refund. Which was kind of weird that they mentioned that because why didn't they just cite the 14-day thing first? Because they'd already said like our policy says 14 days. We see you've already downloaded the games. That's why. And I'm like, wait, what? No, that sounds weird. It sounds like you were just gonna change it to the 14 days was why you're you're trying to make it like it's my fault, which it is, granted. But so I'll accept that. But what got me was I was like, okay, I could swear that it did not say that this was not the English version. And so I went back and I looked at all the From Software games on the PlayStation Store. Bloodborne, English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Sekiro, English, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Was the new Demon Souls, English, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Every single one has English, except for Elden Ring. It's the only one that doesn't. And what happened was, is if I go into, I have a video of it because I was like, I need this for evidence. I'm not going crazy. Stop, don't gaslight me. So I have the video. If you look at the store, if I go to if I went to the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation, on the PS4, I went online, there it says Elden Ring, Chinese, Korean. If you go on the app, it just says Elden Ring. It does not say Chinese, Korean. And then if you go to the store there and you scroll down, if you scroll down at the bottom, it says audio, English, menus, Chinese, Korean, Thai. But that's if you look in the store. If you look at the version in my library, there is 0 mention of any languages. So I'm like, your store page and the page for the game in my library, the descriptions are identical with the exception of on your store page, it lists languages. In my library, there's no mention of languages. That's weird. So it's like you would think it would be one single page, but actually there's 2 different pages. And so I'm thinking that maybe they updated it at some point because in the email that they sent me, they even quote, they say, actually, we've received lots of feedback from customers about available language for Elden Ring since release. So we delivered this feedback to the game publisher, and it seems they are considering about it for the consumer. We are afraid that we have not received any update from the publisher side yet, so we cannot guarantee additional language support for Elden Ring now. However, we will keep sharing this request with the publisher. So apparently, I'm not the only person that's had this issue where the English version is missing on this, and this is the only FromSoft game where English. So that's my little rant there. But
And
gave me a
since
good
it's on
opportunity to play Persona 5. I can't complain.
and since it's on console, I guess you can't mod it to an English, I guess.
Nope, cannot.
That's why I play on computer. I'm sorry.
No. It's a perfectly good reason. Also, I would say I think Steam has much better refund policies. Steam, it's what if you've played less than 4 hours?
Yes. So
Or
3
3 hours?
something. I yeah.
Do they have a time limit? You know?
Yes, they do. They do because I played the Ark Survival with some friends, and after a few hours, I realized that it was really not for me. And when I requested it, you played 20 minutes over the time limit. Sorry.
Okay, but I mean, like, is there a time limit? Like, if you've bought it, you have to refund it within this many days, or is it just as long
Probably.
as you haven't played it?
No, I think there's like a 15 or 13 days, something like this. But it's more like you play the game for more than 3 hours and then you can't refund something like this.
Because here it was like you downloaded it. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I was like, I only know that it was the wrong version because I downloaded it on the app. Didn't mention that it was the wrong version. I would have had no idea until I downloaded it.
Yeah, that's kind of evil.
So I was kind of seedy, but it is, I guess. I don't know. I can't prove that when I bought it, it didn't have that. I do know that I do always check, but there is the possibility. So maybe it is my fault. But no, I can't prove it. I can prove that my version does not have language options on it, but I can't prove
at least you do know that for Armored Core 6, you have to be careful, right? From software and publisher.
Exactly. With Armored Core 6, I'm going to be going over that with a fine-tooth comb, and right now I can tell you, I am going to take snapshots of the page when I buy it to be like, look, I took pictures of it because I knew this was going to be an issue, and that way I'm going to bring it up to them if it is an issue. And look, okay, all right, we're going to have to, I don't know, give me a settlement. I don't need $1,000. Just give me 70 so I can rebuy the game in English. I don't want to be greedy. I just want my game. All right, yeah, we're gonna be moving on to the meat of our show today. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure, I can go first. By the way, meat of the show. I think we only have like 20 minutes left. So.
We're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Mine will be fast. I took 2 games for yeah. I took 2 games, and of course these are 2 games which have been released prior to my holidays. So they are, I think, end of February, 23rd or 24th for both of them. And if you want to run in the tape, I'm gonna start with my number 1, which is Kerbal Space Program 2. So if you guys are fan of space, you of course know KSP, which is a revolution in space simulation. It's a fantastic game where, if you don't know the concept, you create your own space mission. From you go to your starbase and you create your rocket from scratch, either in a classic rocket like Saturn or like SpaceX kind of rockets, or the shuttle, where you start from an airport, from a runway, and you create your rocket and you create a space mission and you try to land on moon and MUN, of course, not double O. You try to dominate the physics because it's quite hard, and the tutorial in number 1 is not extremely good. So now it's KSP2 released on early access. Okay, so here you can't see it because in very fine print under the video, but they are very ambitious there. They want to retake KSP1 as a base, same physics, same solar system and everything, except they add everything. It's not just you take your rocket and go to the moon or further into the solar system. Now you're interstellar travel. You can create colonies. You can mine. You can create a fantastic spaceship. You can create interstellar spaceship. Plenty of stuff which is not available right now, and that's the big criticism at the moment is that you can go on Steam, buy it at $65 or $66, so it's almost full price. And basically, right now you just buy the tutorial. That's basically what you have at the moment. It's very very early access, and the feedback is that the tutorial is really great, but it's extremely good to replay KSP1. Because thanks to KSP2 tutorial, you can manipulate KSP1 much better. But to have all the addition of KSP2, I don't know if there's roadmap or something, but it's gonna come within the early access. I don't know how long the early access is gonna be, but you can expect a year or something. So, yoo-hoo, it's out, but not completely. So you can be excited, but not too much. So that's gonna be a fantastic game, and if you like space even a little bit, you're gonna be like me and want to play it as soon as you can.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this one. I always love these. Funnily enough, when this months and months and months ago, I saw a job listing for community manager for Kerbal Space Program 2, and I applied, but I'm very disappointed about. That would have
Shame.
been awesome. But yeah, I didn't get it. Congratulations to whoever did. It does look like a lot of fun. Korean was saying, he was asking me if, because my dad's a sort of thing, so he was like, "Dad, so definitely gonna be bringing this one up." Family chat. This one's supposed to be multiplayer.
I think so, yeah. Again, very ambitious for this one. I can't wait. You can see the moon base here, your colony expanding. I don't know if how they're gonna manage this city building or colony building. Will it be like a city city skyline, or is it gonna be RTS? I have no clue how they're gonna do it, but I can't wait to see what solution they're gonna find for this one.
Saw that they had some rovers and
Absolutely, there's rovers, all kind of exotic spaceships. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very cool.
still need to play the first one. I have it on Steam. I was actually debating should I play this one next. I'm going to do Persona next, and maybe I'll do Kerbal after that.
Ah, you can maybe wait for a sale where they can sell both as a package.
Well, I
Because
already have the
again,
first one. I got it on sale
you
like
you
a long
do.
time ago.
Ah,
It might be one of those things
then
where before the second one comes in, it might be worth saying, "Hey, play through the first."
because the as I said, it's early access at $65. I imagine when the full game is released, it's gonna go up to 80. So if you take it now, it's always a discount, even if there's not much of game right now. Even if it's not much of game, you can still, like play the KSP1 experience. So you have a great tutorial. You can, create your rocket and fail and recreate it and fail again and and play with parachutes and it's lots of fun and failures, but it's always fun to see the little face of your I don't know how you call them,
Well, Kerbals, aren't they?
the little Kerbals.
Yeah.
Okay, well, your little Kerbals in the rocket, you can see them in the cockpit when it's not going well. It's always very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game also has some connections. Well, if I'm consulting or part of the funding.
So I don't know in the US, but there was a big event at the European Space Agency, so ESA. They brought a lot of streamers, Americans. There was only two French people that I'm following actually, Le JDG and Hugo Lisoire, if you're French. They were at this, and it was very fun because these American guys and foreigners for me, they were like god of KSP. They knew how to do it. They knew how to go to Saturn or Jupiter or something. While the French guy, his whole challenge was to play KSP without any tutorial. And the guy didn't knew anything about rocket dynamics and stuff like this. So you can, it's extremely funny episode where like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this and this and this. You can see his failures all the time. oh no, I'm gonna just make a big cigar with lots of rockets everywhere. Hey, it works. It's great fun. So if you're a French speaker, go see Kerbal Space Program sans tuto on Joueur du Grenier's page. It's fantastic. Very good antidepressor.
Well, with that, I'll move on to my first game, and that is going to be finals. So the finals is the beta is coming up soon. You can sign up to it on their website. Sign up to, I don't know if it's open beta or closed beta. I don't remember. But this game is currently announced. They're still in beta. We're not sure when it's going to be coming out, but it should be coming out soon. It's a first-person shooter, but it is kind of a class-based shooter. So if you've played, kind of what's that game? Team Fortress, that sort of thing. Similar to that, you have three, call them competitors, but they are heavy, light, and medium. And what your goal is this is basically in a future. You're part of a game show. What you're supposed to be doing is there are boxes. Grab a box, take it to. You'll have kind of a cash out box. Put the box in there, and it'll drain the money out of the box over time, and that's how you rack up points. And so obviously, the team can run up, steal the box from your cash out box, or steal the crate from your cash out box, put it in their crate, and drain whatever money is left from it. So that's kind of the goal of the game. But what makes it really, really interesting is that the environments are pretty much mostly destructible. So you can see in the trailer, if you're watching it, that you're just blowing walls apart. You're blowing floors out. I was watching a video of it, and the guy had it at one point where the cash out box, somebody blew the floor out from underneath the cash out block, and the goal you're trying to take it to actually moved as they took out the level. It was moving down through the building. You can do things like that. With your different classes, you have different abilities. For instance, heavies can get like big shields and things like that. The lights can cloak themselves and go invisible, that sort of thing. So yeah, this looks like it would be a lot of fun. It's a lot of mayhem. It's a lot of destruction. It's all kind of fun, and it's one of those things where if you're kind of, it's still bright and shiny, so it does have a little bit of that uh, Fortnite kind of feel to it, but it's not quite as gaudy where you're not having people running pink lava. Although I guess they said there were people running around in panda masks, so I guess it could get to that point, but it's a slightly
DLCs.
less cartoony version in terms of graphics. But it does look really interesting. It does look like it's a lot of fun. It does seem like it's pretty fast paced. There's lots of running around and explosions and trying to avoid that. But from what I've seen, they said the time to kill is actually a little bit compared to a lot of other games. So you are a bit more survivable, and because of that, it makes it actually kind of feel more intense because don't just go really quickly in the sense that having Fortnite or something like that. You do have two teams here, so having that longer time to kill means unless you can get a guy really quickly, there's times for his teammates to show up and help him out. So it does look like it'll be a lot of fun. I am looking forward to it. So yeah, check it out. There's a few videos of people who did the alpha or beta, and
It does sound especially tailored for esports.
yes, it does.
Next Valorant or.
All right. Well, that's
All right.
Short. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. I'll try to be as short on my second and last game, which again was released 23rd or 21st of February and released by Relic, that you of course know for Dawn of War, and it's Companies of Heroes 3. So new release on this very very cool RTS series, because of course if it's an RTS, Companies of Heroes, Dawn of War, all of this. In here you will play, and that's you don't see that take very often. You will play the German Africa Corps on the African campaign, and you will play the Allies on the Italian campaign. It's an RTS, but it's not like Command and Conquer. Right? It's way more strategic. you have two strategies. You can just take your team, take your tanks, and roll over the enemies, and go Leroy Jenkins, if you will, or more like me, set up your line of defense, artillery, everything in front of you, go a little step by little step by little step. That's how I would do it. Um, it's co-op and everything. It's a very famous IP, and number two was really good. I've seen a couple of streams from like a special advertisement. Like the company pays YouTubers to play these games, and it looked really cool. And apparently, strangely, on Steam, the reviews were mixed. So I didn't completely clean out. I mean, Companies of Heroes 2 for me is very far away, very, very far away. So when I see it on stream, I didn't found it that bad. It looked really cool. Of course, here you can see a tactical pose. Of course, you have to pause all the time to give orders to your units, especially to pull back because there's a fog of war and there's always nasty surprise just over the hill. Of course, all the time. It's a really good RTS, I think. I think because I haven't played it, but I love Relic is very experienced. This IP is not new. I just hope they don't go the Dawn of War way, where I really love the first opus. The second one was good as well, but maybe a bit less, and third one completely lost me. I hope it's not the case for Company of Heroes, but from what I saw, it's really in line with the previous ones. So I think it's a good try.
Yeah, I've never played any of the Company of Heroes. So is this RTS in the StarCraft where you're having to resources and build
Again,
things, or is this closer to Total War games
um,
where you start off a fight with?
uh, both. You start with the smaller armies, and then a bit like the latest Total War Warhammer 3, you have these flags that you need to control to get point ravitaillement, supply drops, supply points. And with this, you have a base where you build your units. So you build your units, you build your anti-tank or anti-infantry cannons. Then you need to take your truck to tow the artillery where you want it, and because of course an artillery unit doesn't move on its own, so you need to think strategically where you want to put your artillery pieces. You have your tanks, and it's I really love this history take, because of course when you start with the Africa Corps, you start with your Tiger tank. Maybe that's a bit early, but you start with your very heavy tanks, which are way more technologically advanced compared to the British Matilda tank at the time. So that's why it's a tutorial basically. It's because your tank are way ahead of the enemy, and then you will get the allies will develop the Crusader and and the Churchill and some other tank to match with you. But it's really you play the game and you get a history lesson at the same time, and I really like that.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing more of this. We're gonna move on to my second game. Actually, my second game and third game are. We'll move on to the second one first. So this game is Life.
Oh,
Life is
Paradox.
Life by You. Yes, Paradox. So this game is, if you've played The Sims, it looks really similar. We have very little information on this, but this game just blew up in the last few days, and apparently, this video here is basically. So if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, the trailer that you're looking at, that's basically exactly what you get in the game, and that's it.
uh,
There's going to be an
okay.
announcement on March 30th. Sorry, March 20th. There's going to be an announcement on March 20th. So if this does look interesting to you, go and make sure that you check it out. On their channel or whatever. Because yeah, right now we have nothing, but it is done by, I believe his name is Rod Humble, and he was here's something on Sims 2. He was involved with Sims 2, Sims 3, and Second Life. And seeing as Sims 2 and Sims 3 are considered the best Sims, 4 has not been received as well due to the nickel and diming and the fact that they've actually taken away some open world. This one looks like it's going to be open world like Sims 3. So looks like it's going to be a editor Sims. So I look really forward to seeing more about this, checking this out when
I'm I'm surprised because for me Paradox is Stellaris and 4X games. So coming because I was checking as Sims is not Paradox. No, yeah, I checked it's Maxis. Of course, it's Maxis. So yeah, there hasn't been a Sims 5 for what 10, 15 years now.
yeah, they've announced
Just
Sims 5.
DLCs.
Recently announced it, but very little.
So, so clearly, Paradox wants some share of the pie that Maxis has left on the side for quite a while.
Yep, and they have the guy who was in charge of doing the two most successful Sim games. So, or I shouldn't. I don't know if it's most successful. The two most well received, or might have been more. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. I'm super excited.
Oh. Yeah, you're a Sims player.
I play Sims 4. That's my Zen game. That's how I relax. Sometimes I'm like, I've had a rough day. I'm just gonna, play some Sims. We're just gonna go to the park. We're gonna play with the dog. I'm a huge Sims fan. I actually got into it. I was a big Maxis fan. Played SimCity 2000. I played Sim Copter. Played Sim. Enjoyed all those games. Didn't really play The Sims, but sisters came back from I think college, and I had heard of The Sims, but they were like, "Oh yeah, we're playing The Sims." They're showing it to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I kind of got into it. Sims 1, I wasn't so into, but Sims 2, Sims between 2 and 4, I have 3, but I haven't yet. Between 2 and 4, up there in competition with one of the games that I have the most. It's up there with probably Final Fantasy 4 mostly. So I
The Sims is bad for my blood. It really brings out my sadistic side. Oh, pool! Let's remove the ladder.
There's plenty of it. If you want to play that way, you can. You don't have to.
There was there's a big streamer show every year called the Z Event, and they had this contest with 10 streamers playing The Sims and say the goal is to die the fastest. So whether you want to drown your sim or electrocute him in the shower or burn him at the stove, and it makes me cry laughing. That's really not good for my blood. This one.
I've done games in The Sims 2, not so much in The Sims 4 because you don't have as much space. Sims 2, you could kind of build your custom cities, and I would go out and I would make all sorts of weird custom house. Like I would make a haunted. I'm just gonna play this house and I'm just gonna kill off every. And it's just gonna be the haunted. So like anybody who goes there,
I'm not the only one then. Okay. All
yeah.
good.
And I would do the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to this house, I'm gonna kill off all these people, and I'm gonna kill them all in different ways. So all the ghosts are different colors. There's gonna be a ghost that died of fire, a ghost that died of water, all these different colors, and then I would have one sim live. They would collect all the urns and stuff, and take them to public lot, which I would have as like the haunted house, and then all the ghosts public lot. Um, you know. But yeah, so I would do that all the time. So yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, you scare me now.
But yeah, but the other game is also made by Paradox or published by Paradox. Life by You is Paradox Tectonic, whereas one published by Paradox but not. And that game is Cities Skylines II. So this is
Just talked about it.
yeah. So if you've played the original Cities Skylines, this is basically an improvement over the old one. Got a few whatnot. I'm trying to remember exactly what they said. There's going to be better, I think, management, that sort of things. So yeah, this is if you're the kind of person who enjoyed the first one, you're probably going to enjoy this one. That's gonna add. But yeah, if you're really big into the old Sims, I never played Cities Skylines free once on PlayStation Plus, so I have it. But yeah, if you are big into that sort of game, definitely check this one out. Because basically the same thing, but better. And they basically said that they are trying to greatest city build. Trailer currently really only kind of shows render scenes, so we don't really. But again, this game is coming out in 2023 and announced. There's not a lot out there, so hopefully keep an eye on this Paradox. It looks like you guys have been busy.
I seem to recall like City Skyline was nominated for the Game of the Year at the time, right?
Something like that, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Or even maybe won it in its category. It was a really good game. I love, like city builders and sim cities. But I don't think in City Skylines because I played it, but very little. I don't think you could start up disasters like you could in SimCity. Like, my city is too nice. Let's put tornadoes through it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your limitations were. I was watching videos on this yesterday, obviously, because and I saw people doing disaster prevention. But
Oh,
specifically what they were doing was like a tsunamis. They're like, oh, okay, how do we prevent against? So they were trying all these different methods. So I know you have
nice.
flooding. I saw somebody
Okay.
else accidentally trying to build. They're trying to build out their city a bit. Kind of built out some land, but as the land rose, that constructing it actually caused a wave that flooded their own city, by accident.
Ouch.
So I know that flooding's a thing. I don't know about tornadoes. Who knows? Maybe they'll add it in here. They said they were wanting to add more somebody
Hmm.
100%.
Maybe a good game for Koreans. Huh?
Maybe. And yeah, again, this is very much like SimCities, old SimCities. And again, if you're looking for that kind of Zen game, a game where you can just kind of relax and not take it too seriously, and you're not about like react quickly, speed, and all that. You know,
Did they say when in 2023? Like Chris? So could be anything. Eh?
yeah.
Okay.
3 of my games today. 2 of them say 2023, and the other one says we'll tell you more on March. So
Then see you in a month or 2 weeks.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's all for today. At least I'm out of game by now.
Yeah. Same here.
And I'm surprised that Google Meet didn't kick us out yet.
There's only 2 people. When there are 3 people, it
Okay.
limits us to an hour. When there are 2 people, you can do unlimited time. That way, FaceTime parents. So yeah,
And of course,
thankfully we don't have to worry about time when it's just 2 people. But next week Korean will be back and we'll be back up to 3. So we're gonna be limited in our time there. So hopefully, maybe someday we'll have a solution, not have to worry about it or in our time and not rush endings of our show. But yeah,
of course. And let's clean house. Of course, please, if you like our podcast, like and share, view us on nearly every platform. And maybe we can put our podcast on YouTube. I see recently, so maybe we can move because we are on every podcast platform, but we can now add it on YouTube. So maybe that's something we can try. We can try in the future. We'll talk to Crane. He's the boss on this.
harm in the attempt, right?
Exactly. Well, thank you then, and see you next week.
Catch you guys later.